We've spoken about the development of halakha, and we got to the period of the Shulchan Aruch. So we could say that the three major books that anthologized the halakha and canonized it and gave people the sort of the verdict of halakha from the 1100s to the 1500s were the book of Maimonides, the two Arbaa Turim, and the Shulchan Aruch. But all that was theoretical. I want to give an example to see the different writing style, a little bit of each, to understand how they differ from each other. So, we take, for example, the laws of tefillah, the laws of prayer. So, when you look at the book of Maimonides, he's, as I said, very, very systematic, very organized. So, as a header, before he even talks about the halachot of tefillah, he counts the mitzvot. He counts how many practical mitzvot are related to prayer in the Torah. But obviously it's according to his count. Not everybody agrees with him. So he says there are two mitzvot that are related to prayer. Ahat la'avod et Hashem b'chol yom b'tfilah. Shniya levarech kohanim et Yisrael b'chol yom. The mitzvot that are written in the Torah that have to do with prayer, one is to pray at least once daily, and the second is to have the priestly blessing, Birkat Kohanim. Not everybody agrees with this first statement. Rabbi Moshe ben Nachman says, praying is not a mitzvah. It's an option. The rabbis made it an obligation. But the Bible, the Torah, never demands that you pray for a very simple reason. It's something that has to come from your heart. No one can obligate you to pray. But that's besides the point. The main thing is that Maimonides starts his discussion of tefillah with setting the stage of what is the biblical commandment. Then he opens like this: Mitzvat aseh להתפלל bechol yom, שנאמר ועבדתם את אדוני אלוהיכם. There is a commandment to pray daily based on the verse, you shall serve Hashem your God. מפי השמוען למדו שהעבודה זו היא תפילה, שנאמר ולעבדו בכל לבבכם. And though the pasuk only say you should serve God, it doesn't say how. The oral tradition is that this service refers to the service of the heart, which is prayer. ואין מניין התפילות מן התורה, ואין משנה התפילה הזאת מן התורה, ואין התפילה זמן קבוע מן התורה. Because biblically, there is no set number for prayers a day. There is no set nusa. There's no text. The Torah says this is what you should say, and there is no set time during the day to say a prayer. It then goes on to say that each one prays in the manner that he's used and capable of doing. But then in Halakha Dalet, in number 4, he says, "Kevan shegalu Yisrael b'mei Nebuchadnezzar harasha, nit'arvu b'faras v'yavanu shar ha'umot, v'noldu lהם banim ba'artzot hagoyim." After the exile, after the destruction of the first temple, Am Yisrael was exiled among the nations. They were into marriage. They forgot their language. וכיוון שהיה מדבר, אינו יכול לדבר כל צורכו בלשון אחת. They were not able to express themselves clearly in one language. And therefore, כשהיה אחד מהם מתפלל, תקצר לשונו. לשאול חפציו ולהגיד שבח הקדוש ברוך הוא בלשון הקודש. People did not have the appropriate words to express their gratitude to Hashem or to ask for what they need. And therefore, the rabbis, he says here, Ezra Bedino, Ezra the scribe who came from Bavel, and his assembly instituted the actual text of the tefillah, and they said that you have to pray 3 times a day. So this is how Maimonides starts. He starts first with establishing the idea that you have to pray. Where does it come from? Where is it in the Torah? He establishes the idea of that you have to pray, how you have to pray, and he goes historically. This is how it was at the time of the Bible. This is how it was during the time of the first temple. Then, after the exile, they came back, and then he starts going into the laws of tefillah. And after he discusses all that, he will talk about tefillin, etc. This is how Rambam starts, very clearly, very succinctly. You go to now the Arbaa Turim, written by Rabbeinu Yaakov ben Rabbeinu Asher, and let's see how he opens his discussion of tefillah in the column or the section of his book called Orach Haim, the Path of Life, which deals with the daily rituals and praise and so on. It's called Hilchot Hanagat Adam Baboker, the way you conduct yourself in the morning. He starts with that. Yehuda ben Tema Omer, Ve'az Kanamer Ve'kalkanesh Sheratz Katzevi Ve'gibor Kari La'asot Ratzon Avicha Shebashamayim. It's like right out of the blue, before telling you halacha, laws, history, he starts with a moral teaching, which is included in the prayer we say just before the Kaddish of the morning, by the name of a rabbi called Yehuda ben Tema, who says you should be fierce as a tiger and light as an eagle, fast as a gazelle, and mighty as a lion. No, it's not the slogan of the United States Postal Service. This is the original one. And why? You should do all that. La'asot ratzon avicha shebashamayim. Do all this, be like all these animals, appropriate their character traits in order to serve God. Peret arbaa dvarim ba'avodat haborei yitbarach. He says the rabbi listed 4 things that pertain to the way we serve God. And he started with Askan Amer. He started with the idea of be fierce as a tiger. It's important to be fierce, or he almost speaks about being audacious, not being embarrassed. Sometimes you want to perform a mitzvah, but you feel embarrassed. What will people say? How will people perceive me? So you'd rather not do it. So he says, don't worry about that. In that case, sometimes you have to be a little, have a little chutzpah, a little self-confidence, and just go home and do it. וכך אמר רבן יוחנן בן זכאי לתלמידיו, יהי רצון שיהיה מורא שמיים עליכם כמורא בשר ודם. And we also have a quote by Rabban Yohanan ben Zakkai from the time when he was on his deathbed, and his students came in to visit him. And they said, Rabbi, give us a blessing. Like, before you depart from us, give us a blessing. He says, I wish that you will revere God, that you will fear God, the same way you revere humans. So they said, Rabbeinu Adkan, what kind of a blessing is this? You want us to treat God the way we treat humans? So he answered, yeah, this is what I'm saying, because in many cases, when you're about to do something wrong, you don't think of the fact that God sees you and God is omniscient, but rather you look around to see if people see you. So say if you had the same awareness that God is always watching you, then you will not sin. And then וכן לעניין הבושה, פעמים אדם מתבייש מפני אדם יותר ממה שיתבייש מפני הבורא יתברך. Like I said, you're embarrassed by humans more than you would be embarrassed by God. על כן הזהיר שתעיז מצחך כנגד המלעיגים ולא תבוש. Now repeats, Rabbi Yaakov repeats the statement, you have to be confident and not be embarrassed by those who mock you. וכן אמר דוד עליו השלום, ואדברה בעדותיך נגד מלכים ולא יבוש. David HaMelech also said, it's in Psalm 119, Tilim Kuf Yutet, I will speak of your laws in front of kings and I will not be embarrassed. אף כי היה נרדף ובורח בין האומות, היה מחזיק בתורתו ולומד אף קיום הלעיגים עליו. Even though he was persecuted and he had to always be on the run from King Saul, and he would be sometimes with the Philistines or the Amalekites or all these, he would still study the Torah and would not be embarrassed even though they mocked him. And it's an appropriate message of Rabbi Yaakov ben Arosh to deliver to his community, because he himself had to flee Germany to go to Spain. So it's something which is personal and is also uplifting to the community. The problem is, you realize he started with a moral teaching that is included in the prayer. He started expounding on 2 words, Askan Amer. And on that, he brought 3 different quotes. Sort of, he's going off on a tangent, which is great. If you want to learn and to be inspired, it's great. But up until this moment, we don't have a specific halakha that we could learn from. So you look, true? I mean, there's a general instruction of how to behave. And we know later on he will say, the eagle means this, the eagle symbolizes the eyesight, because the eagle has very an amazing eyesight, can identify an animal from miles away, right? It says, it means that you have to shut your eyes to not see evil. He explains all that. It takes time to explain that. And finally, he says, after a couple of paragraphs, לכן צריך האדם להתגבר כארי לעמוד בבוקר לעבודת בוראו. One has to be strong as a lion to get up in the morning and to serve God, meaning to go to the synagogue. ואף אם ישיענו יצרו בחורף לאמור איך תעמוד בבוקר והקור גדול. Says in the morning his evil inclination will say, no, it's not time to get up yet, it's too cold. Right, stay in bed, especially in Europe. So most of the year you don't get out of bed. You want to cuddle in the blankets. Or יעשיינו בקיץ לאמור איך תעמוד למיטתך ועדיין לא שבעת משנתך. In the summer, they'll tell you, you didn't have enough sleep. The night was short. You have to get up, and you don't get up yet. He says, don't worry, don't listen to your evil inclination, but rather יתגבר עליו, you be mightier than your evil inclination. You will be the one who awakens the day, and don't let the day awaken you, meaning wake up early before the break of dawn. Like David HaMelech said again, he quotes David, rise my glory, rise my lyre, and these musical instruments, the harp, I will awaken the dawn. King David praised himself for waking up early to serve God. And even more so, if he wakes up when it's still night, it's even better. And there's more to that introduction. And this is before we know that there isn't a commandment or there is a concept such as prayer, which Rambam established right away. So you see the different approach. Rambam, very clear, very organized. In the Torah, 2 mitzvot. This is the history. They used to do this, they used to do this, they used to do that. Now we do 3 prayers established by the rabbis. This is the core part of the prayer, and he explains it, and then he will explain the rest of Tefillah. Rabbeinu Yaakov ben Rabbeinu Asher, on the other hand, is he expands on and on the importance of our attitude towards Tefillah and what you do in the morning and all that. Rabbi Yosef Karo now distills. He takes this long discussion of Rabbeinu Yaakov ben Rabbeinu Asher, and he puts it in 10 words. He basically summed up whatever Rabbeinu Yaakov said.
Twitter.
You're right, for Twitter. Easier for people to remember, to understand. And he says this, Yitgaber ka'ari, it's sort of like Hilchot Anhagat Adam Baboker. First, the title, the laws of your daily conduct in the morning. 1, Din Ashkamat Aboker, waking up. So he is more organized than Rabbeinu Yaakov and Rabbeinu Asher, who wrote it in general chapters. He breaks it down to sub-entries. Din Ashkamat Aboker. What does he say? Aleph, יתגבר כארי לעמוד בבוקר לעבודת בוראו, שיהא הוא מעורר השחר. One should have the mind of a lion to get up in the morning to serve God, so he will be the one who awakens the dawn. That's it. So he took all this long discussion of Rabbeinu Yaakov and Rabbeinu Asher and distilled it, and he gives you the bottom line. This is what you do. And in that manner, he continues in the Shulchan Aruch. He says, for an example, Tov me'at tahanunim bechavana me'arbot belo kavana. It's better to say less supplications, less prayers, but with focus and intention, than reciting a lot without intention. Tov lomar parashat Akedah. It is good to say this. It's good to say that. But that is how, when you can say it's a very limited example, but this is systematic across the literature of the Shulchan Aruch, Rabbi Yosef Karo, and Rabbi Yaakov Baal Turim. You will see the same concept. I'll give you one more example from Birkot HaShachar. And we know we have, as we get up in the morning, right, we say the daily blessings. The daily blessings in the book of Maimonides only appear in the 7th chapter. Meaning, he didn't go by the order of the day, but rather by the order of the importance of the prayer. So he started with, for him, tefillah is the Amidah, the Shmoneh Esrei, 18 brachot, and the additional, he explains all of these laws, the text. He speaks about the text when you say it. Then he speaks about the behavior in the Bet Knesset, because the tefillah is the core, the Amidah is the core of the tefillah in the Bet Knesset. So how do you prepare yourself for tefillah in your dress code, the cleanliness of the body, the intention, the focus, all that. Then he also explains who is obligated to pray and who is exempt. And in the 7th chapter only, he speaks about the daily blessings, starting from the night, because in Jewish tradition, the night is the beginning of the 24-hour cycle. And so he says, when you go to sleep, you read this and this and that. Then, when you wake up, he says, when you wake up, you say, Elohai Neshama. When you hear the rooster, you say, Anoten Sichvi Bina. When you wear your garments, you say, Baruch Ata Hashem Eloheinu Melech Haolam Malbish Agumim. Blessed is he who dresses the naked. When you stand up, you say Zokef Kefufim. Meaning, according to Maimonides, the daily blessings in the morning are recited at home, and they are recited in a way which corresponds to the action. Meaning, the first blessing that we say, Anoten Sichvi Bina La'avhin Ben Yom Uben Laila, right? We thank God for giving the rooster the understanding to distinguish between day and night. So, according to Rambam, if you didn't hear the rooster, you don't say it. So most people don't hear roosters, and if you live in a city, right, and city roosters are confused anyway. They call up at like 3 a.m. We had a neighbor in Yerushalayim. We had a rooster 3 a.m. So, in the Or Haim, when you look at the Or Haim of Rabbeinu Yaakov ben Asher, the order is different. Birkot HaShachar also appeared later on in chapter 46, but it's after he spoke about the moral teachings of how you get up in the morning. Then he talks about the laws of tzitzit and the laws of tefillin, and then Birkot HaShachar, because he goes by the order of the day. And he says, once you put on tefillin, you say all these blessings. Unlike Maimonides says when you wake up, you start saying them right by the order of performance. Thank you for giving me clothes. Thank you for giving me shoes. Thank you for making me stand up. It says, Rabbeinu Yaakov says, after you put on tefillin, you say all these brachot, even though the Talmud suggests that you have to say each one of them in its proper time, and then he brings this whole text, quoting the Talmud, Lefi seder Gemara. According to the Talmud, really you have to do it as Maimonides says. But because our hands are not clean, or our body is not clean, it has been established that they will be recited in the synagogue. And this is how the Ashkenazim do until today. Birkot HaShachar are being recited out loud in the synagogue. But it says it is an obligation for each one to say them. And he quotes a teshuvah, a response by Rav Natronai Gaon, and he quotes Rav Amram Gaon. And he says, וכל הברכות שהן על סידור העולם והנהגתו, אין לחסר מהם. אפילו לא שמע כל תרנגול או לא הלך על הארץ. He says, even if you didn't hear the rooster, or you didn't walk, you stay in bed, you still have to say all of them. So, all this takes, a couple of pages in the Arbaa Turim of Rabbeinu Yaakov and Rabbeinu Asher. But when you go to the Shulchan Aruch, to Rabbi Yosef Karo, this is much, much shorter. And he uses the phrasing of Maimonides. When you wake up, you say this. When you dress, you say that. And then, in the second entry, עכשיו מפני שאין הידיים נקיות וגם מפני עמי הארצות שאינם יודעים אותם. Now because our hands are not clean in the morning and some people are not well versed and they cannot say them by heart, נהגו לסדרם בבית הכנסת ועונים אמן אחריהם ויוצאים ידי חובתם. They are being recited in the synagogue by the Hazan and people answer Amen, which we don't follow today. We say it, the Sephardim, we say it by ourselves. And he says some people have the minhag to say the brachot, and it's a mistake. The point is right now not exactly the halakha, but just the style. You see the different style of the three great halachic authorities. Rambam, very clear, very succinct to the point. Rabbeinu Yaakov and Rabbeinu Asher, more of an anthology, moral teachings, quoting many rabbis by name and verbatim, he brings the text. Rabbi Yosef Karo crystallizes and distills all of that into a short, final halakha. But unlike Maimonides, it's not only one opinion. He gives different opinions, different practices. You could do this or you could do that. And that is, in general, the approach that has been accepted in the book of the Shulchan Aruch. We'll continue more in detail next time. Rabbi Yehuda ben Tema is a rabbi of the Mishnah.